Imagine standing in a crowd so vast that it makes the Super Bowl look like a backyard party. I'm talking about a gathering of 100 million people. That's like combining the entire population of Germany with everyone in South Korea. Or picture every single person in California, Texas, and Florida all gathering in one place. And you're still not quite there. Today, we're diving into the Kumbh Mela, the world's largest gathering, and trust me, what I've discovered about why we create these massive gatherings completely change how I think about community and meaning in our own modern world. Let me put this scale into perspective. You know Woodstock, that legendary festival that defined a generation. Well, the Kumbh Mela is like having 100 Woodstocks happening simultaneously. And I'm not exaggerating. Let that sink for a moment. But here's what fascinates me most. This isn't just some random flash mob or a viral event. This gathering has been happening every 12 years, like clockwork for centuries. Think about that. While empires rose and fell, while the Industrial Revolution transformed our world, while we invented phones and computers and TikTok, this tradition just kept going. Now, you might be wondering, why? Why would millions of people from all walks of life, from billionaires to farmers, travel thousands of miles to stand shoulder to shoulder at the banks of the river? What could be so powerful that it creates a temporary city larger than New York, Paris, and Tokyo combined? The answer lies in something far deeper than just tradition or religious. It taps into a fundamental aspect of human psychology that modern science is only beginning to understand. You know, I'll never forget my first experience with the power of mass gatherings. I was 8 years old, clutching my dad's hand as we walked into a football stadium for the first time. The moment we stepped inside, my jaw dropped. The sheer number of people was overwhelming. Thousands of people, all there for one purpose, united in their passion for the game. But what really struck me wasn't just the crowd size. It was what happened when our team was about to score. Suddenly, every single person in that stadium held their breath at the exact same moment, in a collective joy. I felt like I was floating. Call it spiritual, magic, a bond, connection, or a phenomenon. But in that moment, I understood why we have been drawn together in massive numbers since the beginning of time. But here's what keeps me up at night, thinking about this phenomenon. It's not just about the numbers. There's something profound happening here that speaks to who we are as human beings. Think about it. In our hyper-connected world where we can FaceTime anyone, anywhere, at any time, why do millions of people still feel this primal urge to physically gather? I mean, we're talking about people traveling for days, sometimes weeks, just to be part of this mass of humanity. What I discover is fascinating. Psychologists who study mass gatherings have found something they call collective effervescence. It basically means what happens when a large group of people simultaneously experience the same emotions or purpose. It's like when you are at a concert and suddenly everyone's singing the same lyrics, moving to the same beat. I still remember experiencing this myself at a music festival. There I was, surrounded by thousands of people, when suddenly something extraordinary happened. The music swept through the crowd like a wave. I found myself in this incredible trance-like state. The beats, the melody, the lyrics, they weren't just sounds anymore. They became this gateway to something bigger. Nostalgia washed over me one moment and pure euphoria the next. Everything else, my worries, my to-do lists, even time itself just disappeared. In that moment, I understood what the ancient philosophers meant when they talked about transcendence. And here is where it gets really interesting. Whether you are at Burning Man in the Nevada desert, or a massive music festival in Europe, or the Kumbh Mela in India, these gatherings are tapping into the same human need. It's like we are hardwired to seek out these moments of collective experience. Now, this is where things get really interesting. These massive gatherings aren't just impressive spectacles, they are actually teaching us 4 profound lessons about human nature and society. And trust me, these insights are going to change how you think about your own life. Lesson number 1: the power of impermanence. Get this, during the Kumbh Mela, they built an entire city that houses millions of people, only to completely dismantle it weeks later. It's exactly what Buddha was talking about when he said, "Nothing lasts forever." But here's the mind-blowing part. Instead of making people anxious, this temporary nature actually makes the experience more meaningful. It's like that sunset you try to capture on your phone. It's beautiful precisely because it won't last forever. Lesson 2: the dissolution of ego. Picture this: a CEO, a farmer, a monk, all sitting together in the same simple conditions. No fancy titles, no corner offices, no social media status. In these moments, something remarkable happens. The barriers we create between me and everyone else starts to dissolve. And this isn't just spiritual talk. Scientists have actually observed how being part of a massive gathering can literally change how we perceive ourselves. The third lesson is about sacred time. You know how time feels different when you are on a vacation versus stuck in a Monday meeting? The Kumbh Mela operates on what philosophers call sacred time, where the normal rules of clock watching and scheduling just dissolve. It's like entering a different dimension where time moves according to meaning rather than minutes. And finally, lesson 4: unity in diversity. Now, this is crucial for our divided world. Imagine different religion sects who might normally disagree coming together in harmony. It's like a massive experiment in human cooperation. And guess what? It works. It shows us that our difference doesn't have to divide us when we are focused on something bigger than ourselves. Now, you might be thinking, this is fascinating, but I'm not about to travel to India for a mass gathering. Here's why this matters for your life right now. Look at your phone for a second. How many social media friends do you have? Hundreds? Thousands maybe? And yet, studies show we are experiencing a loneliness epidemic. Isn't it ironic? We are more connected than ever and yet feeling more isolated than ever. This is where the wisdom of Kumbh Mela becomes incredibly relevant. Scientists studying mass gatherings have discovered something remarkable. Just a few hours of meaningful in-person connection can have the same impact on our well-being as months of digital interaction. It's like the difference between watching a sunset on Instagram versus feeling the actual warm sunlight on your face. And here's the real exciting part. We are seeing this wisdom being rediscovered in the West. From music festivals to community events, people are craving real physical connections. So here's your challenge for this week. Find one opportunity to be part of a gathering, whether it's a local community event, a concert, or even just a dinner with friends. Pay attention to how different it feels from your digital connections. And remember, while we might not all be able to join a gathering of 100 million people, we can all create moments of meaningful connection in our own lives. Share in the comments below. What's the most meaningful gathering you've ever been part of? What made it special? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because in the next episode, we are going to dive even deeper in ancient wisdom versus modern life, what Kumbh Mela reveals about our digital age.